俺の財宝か？欲しけりゃくれてやる。探せ！この世の全てをそこに置いてきた。
Sunachi everyone, after a long break I'm finally back to talk about One Piece, and in particular about something which could be forgotten considering the escalation of events in Wano, but that if I'm right will be one of the most important elements in the following final arcs of the manga. But before seeing everything in detail, I publish new videos every week, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always know when I upload something new. Alright, with that said, let's jump straight into it. So, what I'm referring to is the third news of chapter 956, which Oda masterfully hid among the reactions of the world to the other two, occupying all the pages with the end of the Ouka Shichibukai and with the apparent death of Sabo. However, the fact a journalist as experienced as Morgans still didn't pronounce to put this assassination attempt together with the other news on the front pages means it has at least the same importance, suiting the idea it is also most likely the one the world government paid that bird to cover up. Indeed, assuming the news truly reports Sabo's death, whether this is true or not, clearly there would have been no reason for the world government to hide the death of the number 2 of the revolutionary army, or their own decision of abolishing the Shichibukai system, which would have been known by the population anyway. But the same goes in a situation where either the culprit or the victim, or both of this assassination attempt, were someone outside the world government, especially considering that since we're talking about an assassination attempt, the killer clearly failed. Moreover, for what we know, apart from Bonnie and the revolutionaries at the reverie were only present members of the world government itself, supporting the idea that actually both the targets and the assassins belong to that organization. But then, from this perspective, it becomes very likely the mandants of this assassination are actually the 5 elders themselves, probably following Im-sama's direct order, while it's the identity of the target making everything about this assassination attempt both extremely relevant for the plot and extremely important for the world government to hide. To understand who he could be, we can first of all assume we are talking about someone who already had a relevant role in the story before the reverie, which allows to exclude all the new characters Oda introduced for the Assembly of the Kings. We can most likely also exclude the Sai and Leo, because even if they are now part of the Mugiwara fleet, even if the world government had discovered that somehow their status as pirate would have justified action against them. And considering we are probably talking about someone the Gorosei wanted to kill behind the scenes in order to protect their status in a way that most of the population would have considered unjustified, kinda similarly to what they wanted to do with Moria in Marineford. If we assume the leaders of the world don't know about Kureha's mysterious knowledge about the D, this only leaves as possible targets the 2 royal families directly connected to the Void Century, those of the Ryugu Kingdom and of the Alabasta Kingdom. And since from what we see at the beginning of chapter 956, it doesn't look like Neptune, the princess and Shirahoshi went through other troubles apart from what happened in the socializing plaza, which by the way is probably only thanks to Don Quixote Miosgard, the most probable explanation is that all this matter was actually a consequence of King Cobra's desire to ask the Gorosei about the mysterious, weird role of his ancestors during the Void Century. Indeed, in chapter 823, he openly expresses how Robin's behavior in the royal chamber happened at the end of the Alabasta saga, and revealing an interest towards poneglyph unrelated to the ancestral weapons, combined with the contradictions of his family that, despite being one of the 20 who founded the world government after defeating the Ancient Kingdom, not only didn't move to the Red Line, but also hid and protected protected for generations one of the most important leftovers of their supposed enemies, of course made the confusion explode, especially considering that according to what Crocodile hinted during the Alabasta saga, Cobra's ancestors may have also transmitted to him the location of Pluton itself. Just like the royal family of the Fishman Island passed for generations knowledge about Poseidon. And so in this situation it becomes not so unlikely, and actually in my opinion very reasonable, that during his meeting with the Gorosei, Cobra revealed at least part of what he knows about Pluton and his family. However, in chapter 908, before this meeting even started, the five elders already expressed hostility towards Alabasta and consequently Cobra, and hinted possible complications following the meeting itself. Moreover, the fact that Vivi's picture not only was kept by Im-sama together with Luffy's, Stitch's and Shiraoshi's, but was also the only one he didn't destroy, and so in a sense the only he didn't show hatred towards, suggests the connections between the Kingdom of Sand and the world government may be, if possible, even deeper and more important than what they seemed. And so, in a context where we can assume in the same way Cobra's questions revealed to the Gorosei something they didn't know about Alabasta and Pluton, their answers revealed to the 12th Nefertari King some secrets about the birth of the world government he wasn't aware of, considering how these secrets, just like the overall behavior of the world government through the series, probably follow principles contrasting those of a king who values his people over his empty status. A possibility is that, just like probably it happened with his ancestors 800 years ago, this discussion made Cobra strongly affirm his anger and opposition towards those ideals that founded the One Piece world. But if so, in the eyes of the five elders, this instantly made Vivi's father become one of the most dangerous men in the ocean, considering he has the possibility to support his hostility towards the world government using an ancestral weapon. And keeping also in mind that, as we said before, Alabasta was already on Im-sama's list of things to keep an eye on before the meeting even happened, following the flow of this theory, we can conclude the target of the assassination attempt the world government tried to cover up was actually the Sandy Island royal family. However, since we came to know about the attempt through Morgans, it's clear they both failed in the assassination and in keeping it a secret. Consequently, not only probably making Cobra even more certain of and determined in his opposition to the world government, but also making all the other major forces of the world aware of this Pluton-related situation, as in my opinion it's confirmed by Teach's decision to move his entire crew to go get something related to the news. Indeed, considering he only sent one of his commanders when he wanted to acquire the Mera Mera no Mi, the fact that now instead all 10 of them, with the captain himself and the rest of the Blackbeard pirates, are apparently moving all together, means we're talking about something much more relevant, which in my opinion can only be a road poneglyph or an ancestral weapon. Now, one objection one could make about this theory is that when deciding which news to put on the front page, Morgans didn't mention anything about an ancestral weapon, which suggests in that moment he didn't know about the reasons behind the assassination attempt, but only about the people involved. Indeed, if he knew about Pluton, he would have certainly entirely been focused on that. However, this flaw can be solved considering that just before leaving the World Economic Journal headquarters in chapter 956, Oda shows a call from Wapol, who claims to have new information about what happened. But since that Hippophant's role in the story is always only related to Drum or Alabasta, because we have to remember he had a discussion with Cobra and he even ate Vivi during a previous reverie, it's not so unlikely he called Morgans to satisfy his resentment towards the Nefertari King, revealing what he may have heard during the reverie about his connections to Pluton, and so to state how much of a dangerous criminal he is for the world. But if so, considering also Dragon was reading the news, if they really revealed the Pluton-Alabasta connection, it's impossible he would stay put, leaving to the Marines the possibility to acquire the ancestral weapon, which is also exactly Teach's approach to a situation perfectly fitting what Garp told to Neptune. Indeed, we're talking about a very critical condition related to Alabasta that could make fishmen fear the humans on the surface much more. That to me sounds like a perfect description for the resurrection of an ancestral weapon. In this situation, it's very interesting to notice also how Oda made it so that Dragon and Teach are the only major players of the One Piece world external to the world government who can be involved in this Alabasta Pluton incident. Indeed, while the way the author seems to have characterized Shanks makes him that sort of person who, just like his late captain Roger and Luffy, is not interested in these sort of things, as the five elders themselves confirmed after Marineford, Kaido and Big Mom are not only both currently isolated from the rest of the world in Wano, but they will be also soon kept busy by the incoming war about to explode in Onigashima. For what concerns instead the only three true Shichibukai remaining, not only they first need to face the consequences of the sudden revocation of their title, but also they are all not the type of characters who would be interested in acquiring Pluton. And so, as I said before, the only forces which can be involved in the Alabasta situation and interested in acquiring Pluton are the Marines, the Blackbeard pirates, and of course the revolutionaries. However, since the Marines are scattering their forces to contrast the Shichibukai, the strongest players will definitely be Dragon and Teach, and this situation could even give the opportunity to show a true fight between these two major D-clan members. Something we have to remember, Oda already almost made it happen when Barges discovered the location of Baltico. This kind of development would be fitting the fact that we have clearly entered the last part of the manga, where not all the strongest characters have a reason to fight the protagonists, and so they can only show their strength and their characteristics fighting against others externally. And in my opinion, in this case, Oda created a perfect situation to have a true fight between Dragon and Teach. Of course, in this context, the most relevant consequence of this duel is that it will decide where Pluton will be placed in these final stages of the series. And one of the major aspects deciding which destination the Ancient Weapon will take, and also the result of the battle itself, is whether Sabo is truly dead and what happened to the other revolutionary commanders who went with him in Marijua. Because if Dragon truly lost them, while it can be easy to see him winning a one-on-one versus Blackbeard, it's difficult to see his revolutionary army winning against the Blackbeard pirates as a whole. In any case, what's sure is that we won't see developments on this side until the end of Wano. And so, while waiting to see if I'm right and what truly happened in Alabasta, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, don't forget to leave a like and make sure to watch also these other videos of the channel. See you next time, Jane.